My son-in-law called me embarrassing to our family engagement party. My name is Raymond Holland. I'm 61 years old. This is what happened. October 19th, 2024, Brookside Country Club, Cleveland. 26 guests. My daughter Claire's engagement party. I wore a navy vest I've had since 1998. Cost me $150 at a thrift shop. My son-in-law, Preston, wore a Tom Ford suit worth $2,150. At 7:08 p.m., he whispered to his groomsmen loud enough for 6 people to hear. Can't believe she's related to this. Good thing I'm upgrading the family tree. I didn't yell, didn't argue. I smiled, set down my drink, and walked to my car. 41 hours later, I sat in a boardroom and signed the papers that ended his career. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. You're going to want to hear how this played out. Let me take you back to the beginning. Preston Carlyle came into our lives in 2022. He met Claire at an industry conference. Smart guy, Dartmouth undergrad, Wharton MBA. Worked at McKinsey for 3 years before taking ACO position here in Cleveland. I should have seen the warning signs earlier. The first incident happened on June 14th, 2024. Claire's birthday dinner at Marone's Italian downtown. 12 guests, Claire's college friends, a few co-workers, my wife, Susan, and me. Preston engineered the seating so he'd sit at the opposite end of the table from me, not next to me, not even diagonal, as far away as possible, in a private dining room. I heard him tell Claire, "Babe, I need to sit near the interesting people. No offense to your dad, but I've got to network the interesting people." Those were Heiss's exact words. I didn't say anything, just watched. Made a mental note. The entire dinner, Preston talked to everyone except me. Not one question, not one attempt at conversation. When Susan tried to include me by mentioning the company I'd founded, Preston was on his phone. Later that night, Susan asked me, "Did you notice he didn't ask you a single question all evening?" I nodded. He doesn't know who I am, and that's by design. The second incident came July 22nd. Backyard barbecue at Claire's apartment. About 15 people. I was telling a story about the early days of my business. Nothing fancy, just talking about an engineer who helped us through a rough patch. Preston interrupted me mid-sentence. "It's whom told me Ray. Subject-object agreement." The whole patio went quiet. I looked at him. "You're right, Preston. Thanks for the correction." He smirked, went back to his phone. Claire pulled me aside later. "Dad, I'm so sorry. Oh, that was rude." I put my hand on her shoulder. "Don't apologize for him. I'm learning a lot about who Hayes." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I built a company on listening to people." Preston talks at people. That tells me something. The third incident was September 8th. Preston came to our house to discuss the wedding budget. We sat in the living room. He looked around at our furniture, IKEA couch, Target coffee table, Kohl's curtains. He cleared his throat. "Ray, I've been thinking. Guys your age, tough job market. I could connect you with a career transition coach. Help you stay relevant." I sat down my coffee. "That's thoughtful, Preston. What makes you think I need that?" "Well, you're not working. Figured you're probably stressed about money. I mean, Claire mentioned you live pretty simply." "I don't live simply." "That's true, right? So Theffer stands. I'm happy to help family." After he left, Susan asked me, "Did he just offer to find you a job?" "He did." "Are you going to tell him?" I shook my head. "No, he thinks he's helping me. He genuinely believes I'm struggling. That tells me everything I need to know." Here's what Preston didn't understand. I wasn't offended by his assumptions. He was documenting them. Every interaction, every comment, every moment, he treated me like I was beneath him, because I've met 2 kinds of people in 40 years of business. The first kind treats janitors and CEOs the same. The second kind treats you based on what they think you can do for them. Preston was the second kind. And I needed Claire to see it too, so I stayed quiet. Wore my old clothes, drove my old car, let him think whatever he wanted. Because if he respected me only after learning I'm the chairman, then he never respected me at all. But there was one thing that bothered me more than Preston's treatment of me. It was watching Claire change. Small things at first. The way she apologized for our neighborhood when Preston visited. "Sorry, it's not, nicer." She'd never said that before. The way she stopped wearing her favorite jeans because Preston bought her designer clothes. "You can't wear Old Navy to my firm events, babe." Claire used to say, "I grew up here and I'm proud of it." Now she said, Nick, it's fine. I didn't build a life so my daughter could learn to be ashamed of where she came from. That's when I realized this wasn't just about respect. It was about what kind of man was going to be part of our family, what values he'd bring, what he'd teach any future grandchildren. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. Let me be clear about what was at stake. This wasn't just hurt feelings. This was about the culture I'd spent 26 years building. I founded Apex Precision Systems in 1998. Started with 8 people in a rented warehouse. We made aerospace components, small parts for big planes, the kind of work where precision matters more than prestige. Today we employ 1,150 people. Revenue $285 million a year. Contracts with Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. But here's what I'm most proud of. Our turnover rate is 8%. Industry average is 22%. Why? Because we treat people like they matter. That's not a slogan. It's how we operate. I don't care if you're the CFO or the guy who empties the trash bins. You get the same respect. Preston had been our COO for 2.5 years, Chief Operating Officer, second in command, or so he thought. His division's turnover rate, 23%. I get copies of all exit interviews. It's one of my few remaining privileges as chairman. 3 employees in Preston's division cited hostile work environment in the past year. One example, August 2024. Administrative assistant named Nicole brought a birthday cake to the break room. Twiddle-off cake from Giant Eagle, nothing fancy. Preston walked by, stopped, looked at the cake. This is what $12 looks like. Embarrassing. Nicole heard it. So did 4 other people. Kate, our CFO, flagged it for me. Ray, this is the 3rd complaint about Preston in 6 months. I could have fired him then. Could have used the expense reports Kate had been tracking. $6,200 in questionable charges over 14 months. Client dinners with no client names listed. Hotel stays that didn't match his travel calendar. But that wasn't the point. The point was character. And I needed Preston to reveal his character in a way that left no room for doubt. No, he said, she said. No ambiguity. Public witnessed, undeniable. Because here's what people don't understand about running a company. It's not about the numbers. Then numbers matter, sure. But culture eats strategy for breakfast. If I let Preston stay after treating people like they're beneath him, I'm telling 1,150 employees that our values are just words on a website. That's their cost of silence. But there was a personal cost, too. Every Sunday, Suzanne and I have dinner with Claire. It's our tradition. Been doing it since she moved out 8 years ago. Preston started joining us 6 months ago. Every Sunday, he'd talk about his week, his deals, his meetings, his ideas for scaling the business. He never once asked Suzanne about her week. She's a retired teacher, 2 years in Cleveland public schools, changed hundreds of lives. To Preston, she was invisible. He never asked me about my week either because in his mind, what would I have to talk about? I wasn't working. I was just figuring out what's next. I watched my wife shrink a little every Sunday. Watched Claire make excuses for him. He's just stressed. Big project at work. I had a choice to make. Option A, stay silent. Keep the peace. Let Preston marry my daughter. Watch him treat us like we're lucky to be related to him for the next 40 years. Option B, enforce boundaries. Show Claire what respect actually looks like. Risk their relationship in the short term to protect it in the long term. The question wasn't whether Preston deserved consequences. The question was whether I could live with myself if I did nothing. The answer was no, but I also couldn't act impulsively. I needed Preston to show everyone who he really was. And then came the engagement party. Saturday, October 19th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. Brookside Country Club sits on the west side of Cleveland. Old money golf course, crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where you pay for the name on the door. Preston chose it. Cost $8,500 for the venue. He insisted on paying. Needs to look good for our Boston guests. 26 people on the guest list. Claire's side, me Susan, 6 college friends, 2 co-workers. Preston's side, his parents, Theodore and Vanessa. 5 Dartmouth buddies, 3 colleagues from Apex, and 3 other guests Preston didn't know mattered. Larry Hartford, our CEO. Kate Brennan, our CFO. Jerry Foster, our general counsel. They were there because Claire invited them. She's worked with all 3 on company charity events. They're fond of her. Preston sent the invitation with a dress code, cocktail attire. I dress the way I always dress for important events. White button-down shirt from J.C. Penney, $28. Khaki slacks from Kohl's. 35 brown loafers from Target, $40. My Timex watch, $38. And the vest, navy blue, wool blend, St. John's Bay brand, $150. My father bought it for me on Father's Day, 1998, the same year I founded Apex, 3 weeks before he died of a heart attack. Eugene Holland was a union electrician, worked his whole life with his hands. That vest was expensive for him. He saved for 2 months to buy it. I've worn it to every major event since. Board meetings, contract signings, industry awards. The cuffs are worn, the fabric's faded, but it fits. Susan and I arrived at 6:45. Preston stood at the entrance greeting guests. When he saw us, his face changed just for a second, a micro-expression of disappointment. He walked over, extended his hand. "Ray, Susan, glad you made it." His handshake was limp. 2 seconds. Then he turned to a group of executives standing nearby. "Everyone, this is Claire's father, Ray. He's between opportunities right now, figuring out his next chapter." Between opportunities, that's how he introduced me. Larry Hartford was in that group. He caught my eye, raised an eyebrow lightly. I gave him a small shake of my head, not yet. Preston gestured toward the coat check. "Ray, you can leave your vest over there if you want." "I'll keep it on, thanks." He shrugged, walked away. I heard him whisper to his groomsman, Tyler, "Not quiet enough." Kate heard it too. She was standing 10 feet away. Told Claire to give him a heads up on the dress code. Guess some habits die hard. The seating chart was posted near the entrance. Table assignments. Head to Preston, Claire, Theodore, Vanessa, the best man. Table 1, VIP, Larry and his wife Emily, Preston's Dartmouth friends. Table 2, Preston's work colleagues. Table 3, Claire's friends. Table 4, me, Susan, Claire's 2 co-workers who barely knew us. Table 4 was 38 FTF from the head table. I measured it later when I reviewed the security footage. Susan leaned close. "This feels intentional." It is. We sat down, made small talk with Claire's co-workers, nice people. They asked polite questions. What did I do before retiring? How did Susan and I meet? At 7 hours, Preston stood at the head table, tapped his glass. "Thank you all for being here tonight. Claire and I are so grateful." He paused, smiled at his parents. "I especially want to thank my parents, Theodore and Vanessa, for flying in from Boston. Your support means everything." No mention of Susan. No mention of me. He sat down. The room applauded. Emily Hartford, Larry's wife, leaned across her table and whispered something to her husband. I couldn't hear it, but Larry's jaw tightened. Preston circulated after the toast, working the room, shaking hands, laughing loudly. At 7:12, he stopped a tour table. I stood up, extended my hand. He looked at my vest, then at me. "Ray, I get to ask, where'd you find that vest?" "It's very vintage. Goodwill." The table went quiet. 5 people stopped talking mid-sentence. "Actually, yes. 1998. Helloft. No way. You've been rocking thrift store finds for 26 years. That's commitment." It was a gift from my father. Oh, he waved his hand dismissively. "Well, vintage is back in style, I guess." He walked away. Claire saw it from the head table. I watched her close ears, looked down at her plate. Susan gripped my hand under the table. Her fingers were shaking. Kate Brennan, sitting at table 1, leaned toward Larry, whispered something. Larry nodded. Jerry Foster was standing at the bar 20 ft away. I saw him pull out his phone, point it slightly in Preston's direction. I sat back down. Susan whispered, "Do you want to leave?" "Not yet." One of Claire's co-workers, Emma, looked at me. "That was really rude." "It's okay." "Oh, but it wasn't okay." And everyone at that table knew it. I'd been disrespected before plenty of times. 40 years in business, you develop thick skin. But this was different. This was in front of my daughter's friends, in front of my company's executives, in front of strangers. This was a choice. Preston chose to humiliate me publicly because he thought I couldn't fight back. He was wrong, but I wasn't going to react, not yet. I needed to see if he'd stop or if he'd go further. I glanced at Kate. She was already looking at me, gave me a subtle nod. She knew she was on my side. Preston was still circulating, still working the room, still completely unaware of what was coming. I picked up my water glass, took a sip, and waited. 7:18 p.m. Jerry Foster walked up to the bar where Preston was ordering a drink. I couldn't hear their conversation from table 4, but I saw it happen. Jerry said something. Preston laughed, shook his head. Jerry's face got serious. He leaned in closer. Preston waved him off, patted Jerry's shoulder, walked away, still smiling. Later, Jerry told me what he'd said. "Preston, can I give you some advice? Be careful how you talk about people tonight. You never know who's connected to whom." Preston's response, "Jerry, relax. It's a party." "I'm just having fun." Jerry tried again. "I'm serious. Specifically, be respectful toward Claire's family." Preston laughed. "Her family, Jerry? I am her family now. And honestly, she could use an upgrade in that department." Jerry told me he almost said it right there. Almost told Preston who I was, but he didn't because he knew I needed Preston to hang himself. At 7:22, my phone buzzed. Text from Kate. Saw what just happened. "Do you want me to intervene?" I typed back. "No, let him finish." She replied immediately. "Understood. Evidence is being collected." I looked up. Kate was still watching me from table 1. She nodded once. Kate Brennan has worked with me for 19 years. Started as a junior accountant in 2005, worked her way up to CFO. She was there during the financial crisis in 2008 and 9. Watched me take zero salary for 18 months to avoid layoffs. Watched me refinance my house to make payroll. She knows how I operate. Quietly, thoroughly, legally. At 7:30, Preston's father, Theodore, stood up from the head table, walked across the room, sat down in the empty chair next to me. "Right, I apologize for my son's behavior tonight. That was inappropriate." "I appreciate that, Theodore." He looked uncomfortable. "Can I ask what you do for work?" "Preston mentioned you're retired." "I am." "I founded a small manufacturing company back in the 90s. Stepped back a few years ago. Manufacturing here in Cleveland." "What's the company?" "Apex Precision Systems." Theodore's face changed. His eyes widened slightly. "Apex, Ray. Are you Raymond Holland?" I nodded. "Guilty." He lowered his voice. "Oh no, does Preston know?" "He's never asked, Jesus Christ." Theodore rubbed his forehead. "I saw the Forbes article. You're worth I don't talk about that." He sat there for a moment, silent. Then he looked at me. "What happens now?" "Now I wait and see if your son can stop talking." Theodore nodded slowly, stood up, walked back to the head table. I watched him lean close to his wife, Vanessa. "Whisper something." Her hand went to her mouth. Across the room, Larry Hartford was watching everything. His wife, Emily, touched his arm. Larry told me later what Emily said. "Is that the COO you've been worried about?" Larry nodded. "Yeah, Preston Carlisle. He just insulted someone's father at a family event. That's a fireable offense in most companies, especially when that someone is the chairman of the board." Emily paused. "Does Preston know Rye is?" "Apparently not. And Ray's been letting him dig his own grave for months." "So what happens now?" Larry finished his drink. "Now I wait for Ray's call and then I do what needs to be done." 7:35 p.m. Preston was still working the room, still smiling, still completely oblivious, still talking. 7:40 p.m. The cocktail hour was winding down. Servers were clearing appetizer plates. Guests were mingling. Low jazz played through the sound system. Preston stood near the dessert table with 3 people. His groomsman, Tyler, 2 friends from Dartmouth. I was 9 FT away talking with Claire's co-worker Emma about Cleveland weather. Nothing important, just small talk. Preston glanced in my direction, then back to his group. Tyler said something. I couldn't hear it. Preston smiled. One of the Dartmouth friends asked a question. Preston answered. His voice got a little louder. Nothing. He's retired or unemployed. Claire won't say. It's awkward. I kept talking to Emma, but I was listening now. Tyler shifted his weight. Dude, your future father-in-law seems chill. Preston smirked. Yeah, he's simple, which is fine, I guess. The Dartmouth friend laughed. What's his deal? What's he do? Nothing. He's figuring it out. Then Preston leaned toward Tyler. Stage whisper. The kind you use when you want to be heard but pretend you don't. Honestly, can't believe she's related to this. He gestured vaguely in my direction. I stopped talking. Mid-sentence, turned my head slightly. Tyler looked uncomfortable. Come on, man. Preston kept going. No, seriously, look at him. Thrift store vest, 15 watch. Drives a Honda that's probably older than our relationship. The Dartmouth friend was laughing now. Preston continued. I'm not being mean, I'm being honest. Thank God I'm here to upgrade the family tree. Claire deserves better than that. Emma, standing next to him, froze. Her eyes went wide. Did he just... I held up one finger. Give me a second. 6 people heard what Preston said. Me 9 FT away on his left. Kate Brennan 11 T away standing near the bar. Jerry Foster 8 T away. Phone in his hand, Emma right next to me. A server named Amanda passing by with a tray. She stopped walking, made eye contact with me, and Theodore Carlalel, Preston's father, 14 F away, walking toward the bar. Theodore heard it. He stopped, stood completely still. Then he walked straight toward Preston, grabbed his arm hard. "We need to talk now." Preston turned. "Dad, what?" "I'm mingling." Theodore's voice was low, angry. "Outside right now." But Theodore was too late. I'd already made my decision. I set my wine glass on the table, turned to Emma. "Excuse me for a moment." I walked toward the exit, 30 FT across the ballroom, past the head table. Claire saw me, stood up. "Dad, where are you going?" I stopped, turned, kept my voice calm. "I'm heading home, sweetheart." "You enjoy your night. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine." "We'll talk tomorrow." I kissed her forehead. She looked at my face. She knew something was wrong. "Dad, I love you, Claire. Congratulations on the engagement." I walked out. Susan was right behind me. We left at 7:48 p.m. In the parking lot, Susan asked, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to call Larry, and then I'm going to call Jerry and Kate. We're having a board meeting Monday morning." "Are you sure?" I unlocked the car, opened her door. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Back inside the ballroom, Preston kept working the room. Gave a speech at 8:05, toasted to new beginnings. Kate texted Larry at 7:50, emergency board meeting Monday. "Ray will call you tonight." Jerry saved the audio file to the cloud, labeled it Preston Carrill van 10, 1924's engagement party, .m4a. At 8:10, Theodore pulled Preston into a side room. "You just made a catastrophic mistake." Preston was confused. "Dad, what are you talking about?" "Ray Holland, Claire's father." "Do you know who he is?" "He's nobody. He's just Theodore cut him off. He's the founder of the company you work for. He's the chairman of your board. He owns 73% of it. And you just humiliated him in front of 26 people." Preston's face went white. "What?" Theodore pulled out his phone, opened Google, typed Raymond Holland Apex Precision, handed the phone to Preston. Preston scrolled. His hand started shaking. Forbes article. Raymond Holland, founder and chairman, Apex Precision Systems. Net worth $890 million. Cleveland plane dealer. Local Teton Ray Holland's quiet empire, LinkedIn. Raymond Holland, chairman, Apex Precision Systems. 1998 to present. Company website, leadership page, Ray's photo in a hard hat standing in the factory. Preston whispered. "Oh my God." Theodore took the phone back. "You insulted the man who can fire you with one phone call, and you did it in front of his CFO, his general counsel, and his CEO. You're done, son." Preston tried to call Claire. She didn't answer. He tried to text me. I didn't reply. He sat in his hotel room until past midnight, Googling how to apologize to CEO. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did I, but for very different reasons. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. I was in my home office, 10 by 12 FT, IKEA desk, thrift store bookshelf, photos of Claire on the wall. Coffee mug from the company's 20th anniversary in 2018. I picked up my phone, dialed Larry Hartford. He answered on the second ring. "Rye, good morning." "Larry, sorry to call on a weekend." "I've been expecting this." "What do you need?" "I need a board meeting Monday morning, 9 a.m., emergency session." "What's the agenda?" "Termination for cause. Preston Carrile, Section 6.4 of his employment contract. Conduct detrimental to stakeholder relations." Larry was quiet for a moment. "Then I'll draft the memo." "Do you have witnesses?" 6, including you, Kate, and Jerry. There's also audio." "Audio?" Jerry recorded it on his phone. Preston's exact words, date and time stamped. "Right, I'm sorry. I know this is personal." I looked at the photo of Clary on my desk, 8 years old, missing her front teeth, holding a fish we'd caught in Lake Erie. It stopped being personal when he did it in public. Now it's about protecting the culture we've built for 26 years. Understood. I'll make the calls. Kate and Jerry already on board. We'll need the 3 external directors, too. I'll reach out. "See you Monday." I hung up. Susan brought me coffee. Set it down on the desk. "How are you feeling?" "Clear." She nodded. Didn't push. At 2:28 p.m., my phone buzzed. Email from Preston. Subject, sincere apologies. He opened it. "Ray, I want to apologize for me comments last night. I was out of line and disrespectful. I've since learned about your incredible accomplishments with Apex, and I'm embarrassed by my ignorance. I hope we can move past this. I have tremendous respect for you and the company. Please let me know if we can talk. Preston, I forwarded it to Larry and Jerry, added online. This confirms he knows. Proceed as planned. I didn't reply to Preston. At 3:15, Claire called. Dad, Preston told me what he said and what you do. Why didn't you tell me you're still chairman? You knew I was chairman, sweetheart. I know, but I thought it was just a title. I didn't know you still had power. I've always had power. I just don't use it unless I have to. She was quiet. Then what are you going to do? What I should have done 6 months ago. I'm going to enforce boundaries. He wants to apologize to you. He already did via email after he Googled me. Dad.Claire, let me ask you something. If Preston didn't know I was the chairman, would he have apologized? She didn't answer. That's what I thought. He's not sorry for what he said. He's sorry he said it to someone who can hurt his career. He loves me. I'm sure he does. But love isn't enough if it doesn't come with respect. Are you going to fire him? That's not a decision I'm making alone. There's a process, a board, evidence. But I will tell you this. I won't let anyone treat this family like we're lucky to be associated with them. Not in my company. Not in my life. She started crying. I don't know what to do. You don't have to do anything right now. Take your time. Think about what you want. Not what Preston wants. Not what he wants. What you want? Okay, I love you, Claire. I love you too, Dad. Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. Preston's car pulled into the Apex parking lot. He sat in the driver's seat for 5 minutes, staring at the building. He walked in. Badge worked. Colleagues avoided eye contact. He checked his Outlook calendar. No meeting scheduled. At 8:52, a notification popped up. Emergency board meeting 9 a.m. Conference room, A attendance required. Invitees, Larry Hartford, CEO. Kate Brennan, CFO. Jerry Foster, General Counsel. Preston Carlisle, COO. 3 external board members, Raymond Holland, Chairman. Preston's stomach dropped. He walked to the 3rd floor. Conference room A, the door was open. 7 people already seated. Ray Holland sat at the head of the table. Same J.C. Penney button-down, same Timex watch. But something was different. The way he sat, the way he looked at Preston. No smile, no warmth, just calm, cold focus. Larry gestured, tone, empty chair. Preston, please sit. Preston sat, hands shaking. Larry opened a folder. Preston, this is a disciplinary board meeting convened by Chairman Holland regarding your conduct at a company-related event on October 19th. Company-related? The engagement party was personal. Jerry spoke up. You were there as COO of Apex. 4 executives were present. That makes it company-related. Preston tried to recover. Look, I sent Ray an apology mail yesterday. I think we can move on. Ray spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet. Even Preston, this meeting isn't about whether you apologized. It's about whether your behavior violates your employment contract. Preston opened his mouth, closed it. The evidence was about to speak for itself. Or 5 a.m. Jerry Foster opened his laptop, connected it to the conference room screen. Preston, before we proceed, I want to present the evidence that led to this meeting. Preston shifted in his chair. Evidence? Jerry played the audio file. 2 minutes, 14 seconds. Preston's voice filled the room. Clear, unmistakable. Can't believe she's related to this. Thrift store vest. 15 watch. Thank God I'm here to upgrade the family tree. Claire deserves better than that. The recording ended. Silence. Preston's face was red. Who recorded that? Jerry closed his laptop. I did that Ohio is a one-party consent state. I was present at the event. This recording is legal. Preston looked around the table. No one met his eyes except Ray. Ray's face was calm, almost kind, but his eyes were still. Jerry continued, We also have written witness statements submitted yesterday evening. He pulled out 3 sheets of paper. Catherine Brennan, CFO, quote, I witnessed Mr. Carrilli make derogatory comments about Chairman Holland's appearance and socio-economic status in front of multiple guests. The comments were hostile and inconsistent with Apex's values of mutual respect. Lawrence Hartford, CEO. Quote, My wife and I observed the incident. Mr. Carrill's behavior was unprofessional and violated the trust placed in executive leadership. Emma Rutherford, event guest. Quote, I heard Mr. Carrilli insult Mr. Holland within Mr. Holland's earshot. Mr. Holland handled it with grace, but the hostility was unmistakable. Jerry displayed Preston's employment contract on the screen. Section 6.4, highlighted in yellow. Employee agrees that conduct detrimental to the company's reputation, culture, or relationships with stakeholders, including but not limited to hostility toward shareholders, board members, or their families constitutes grounds for immediate termination. Preston, you signed this contract on May 18th, 2022. Do you recall? Preston nodded weakly. I do, but I didn't know Rye was the chairman. If I'd known. Jerry cut him off. The contract doesn't require knowledge. It requires conduct. You were hostile toward a shareholder's family member in a public setting. That's a violation. Kate spoke next. This also wasn't an isolated incident. She pulled out another file. In the past 8 months, we've documented 3 additional instances of similar behavior. June 14th, Claire's birthday dinner. You deliberately seated yourself away from Mr. Holland and referred to other guests as the interesting people. July 22nd, barbecue at Claire's residence. You publicly corrected Mr. Holland's grammar in front of guests. September 8th, you offered to connect Holland with a career coach, implying he was unemployed and struggling financially. Preston tried to interrupt. Those were private. 2 occurred at events attended by Apex employees. 1 was in front of subordinates. None of this was private. Larry leaned forward. The board will now vote on the motion. Terminate Preston Carrolli for cause. Effective immediately, Ray raised his hand. I recuse myself from voting due to personal involvement. Larry will tally the votes. 7 people in the room. Ray abstaining. 6 votes. Larry in favor. Kate in favor. Jerry in favor. External Director 1, Finance Expert in favor. External Director 2, Manufacturing Consultant in favor. External Director 3, HR Specialist in favor. Larry recorded the votes. Motion passes 6-0. Preston, your employment with Apex Precision Systems is terminated. Effective 9:20 a.m. October 21st, 2024. Preston looked at Rye. Ray, please. I made a mistake. I was an idiot. Please don't do this. Ray's voice was quiet, measured. Preston didn't do this. You did. The moment you chose to humiliate me in public, you made a choice. This is the consequence. Preston's voice cracked. But we're going to be family. Doesn't that mean anything? Preston, you told a room full of people that I was an embarrassment. You said you were upgrading my family. No, we're not going to be family. And after this meeting, Claire will make her own decision about that. Preston realized she's going to leave me. That's between you and her. Jerry slid a document across the table. Termination summary. Preston picked it up. His hands were shaking. Per your contract, standard severance for a COO is 8 months' salary. In your case, that would be $172,000. Preston exhaled. Okay, so, Jerry continued. However, Section 11.2 states that termination for cause results in a 65% reduction in severance. Preston's face went pale. What? Your final payout is $6,200 before taxes. That's only 3 and 1/2 months. Kate spoke. Correct. The remaining $111,800 is forfeited due to the conduct clause. Preston looked panicked. I have student loans. I have a mortgage. I can't. Larry's voice was cold. You should have thought about that before you insulted the chairman. Jerry pulled out another document. You have 15 minutes to collect personal items from your office. Corporate credit card, building access badge, and laptop must be surrendered to security. Your company email will be deactivated at 9:30. Larry stood. Security will escort you. Do you have any questions? Preston looked around the table, desperate. Noon would look at him, except Rye. Ray's eyes never left Preston's face. Preston tried one more time. Ray, we're going to be family. This will hurt Claire. Ray leaned forward slightly. Do you know why I wore that vest on Saturday? Preston shook his head. My father bought it for me. Father's Day 1998, 3 weeks before Head Eid. He was a union electrician. That vest cost him 2 months of savings. He wanted me to have something nice for the business I just started. Ray's voice didn't change. Still quiet, still calm. I wear it to remind myself where I came from, to stay grounded, to remember that money doesn't make you better than anyone else. You called it embarrassing. You said I needed to be upgraded. You weren't insulting a vest, Preston. You were insulting everything my father taught me, everything I built, everything I value. This company exists because of men like my father, hardworking, humble, respectful. You don't belong here. Rye stood. Security will be here in 2 minutes. He walked out of the conference room. At 9:27 a.m., 2 security officers arrived. Preston left the building at 9:42 a.m. His badge was deactivated. His career was over. Monday afternoon, 2 p.m., someone posted on LinkedIn. Anonymous account. Blend item. Attended a family event this weekend. Watched a COO publicly mock guest's cheap suit. Plot twist. The guest owns 73% of the company where the COO works. Update Monday. COO no longer employed. The post went viral. By Wednesday, 520,000 views. Comments poured in. This is why you treat everyone with respect. Imagine insulting your own boss and not knowing it. Anyone know what company? Asking for a friend. No one publicly identified Apex, but Cleveland business circles figured it out by Tuesday morning. At 3:30 p.m., Preston's executive recruiter emailed him. Subject following up. Preston, I saw the LinkedIn post. If that's about you, we need to talk. Call me ASAP, Preston replied at 3:45. It's not me. The recruiter Googled Preston Carilli Apex Precision. His name was no longer on the company website. Leadership page updated. COO position vacant. The recruiter replied at 4:10. Preston, I can't represent you if you're dishonest with me. Best of luck. Preston was blacklisted by the top 3 executive search firms in Cleveland by end of day. At 4:00 p.m., Preston's father called. Your mother and I have decided to suspend your trust fund. Dad, I just lost my job. I need that money. You need to learn consequences. The $8,500 monthly stipend is paused indefinitely. Figure it out. This is insane. Theodore's voice was firm. No. What's insane is a 33-year-old man insulting his future father-in-law because he thought it was funny. Grow up, Preston. The line went dead. Monday evening, 7:00 p.m., Claire arrived at Preston's apartment. He'd been texting her all day. She hadn't responded. She walked in. Preston jumped up from the couch. Claire, thank God. We need to talk about your dad. No, we need to talk about you. Preston reached for her hand. She pulled away. I made a mistake. I know that. But firing me, that's extreme. Can't you talk to him? Why would I? Because we're getting married. Claire pulled off the engagement ring, set it on the counter. 1-carat diamond platinum band, $48,000. No, we're not. Preston's face went white. What? Preston, I've spent the last 24 hours thinking about who you are, and I don't like the answer. Claire, I love you. You love the version of me you think you created. The one who dresses better. The one who's embarrassed of her background. The one who doesn't push back when you insult her father. That's not fair. Claire's voice was steady. You called my dad an embarrassment. You said you were upgrading my family. Do you know what that suit you mocked was? Preston shook his head. It was my grandfather's. My dad wears it because it reminds him of where he came from. He's proud of that, but you? You're proud of a Tom Ford suit you bought to impress people who don't even like you. Claire, please. I hope you figure out what kind of person you want to be, Preston, but I'm not waiting around to find out. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back, and for the record, my dad didn't tell you who he was because he wanted to see how you'd treat him when you thought he had nothing. You failed that test badly. She left. Preston sat alone in his apartment, stared at the ring on the counter. 11 p.m., his phone buzzed. Text from a Dartmouth friend. Dude, did you really get fired for insulting your boss's dad? LinkedIn is blowing up. Preston didn't reply. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., Larry called an all-hands meeting. Optional attendance. 8:30 of 1150 employees joined via Zoom. I want to address the leadership change. Preston Carlisle is no longer with Apex. His termination was due to conduct inconsistent with our values. Larry didn't elaborate. Didn't need to. I also want to remind everyone of the principle our chairman instilled from day one. We treat people with respect regardless of title, appearance, or background. That's non-negotiable. The meeting ended. Employee Slack channels buzzed. What did Preston do? I heard he insulted Ray. Wait, who's Ray? By Wednesday, the full story had leaked internally. Not the details, just the outline. COO insulted founder at family event. Got fired. Employee morale went up. People felt heard, protected. Wednesday morning, October 23rd, I sat in my home office. Susan brought coffee. How are you feeling? Honestly, sad. She sat down. Sad. I didn't want it to end this way. I hoped Preston would prove me wrong. I hoped he'd be the kind of man who'd love Claire for who she is, not for who wanted her to be. You protected her. Did I? Or did I just punish a guy for not respecting me? Susan set her hand on mine. Ray, you enforced a boundary. That's not punishment. That's integrity. I nodded, didn't say anything. You keep thinking about that vest, don't you? Yeah, tell me. My dad bought it because it was all he could afford. And I wear it because it reminds me that money doesn't make you better than anyone else. Preston couldn't see that. And that's what breaks my heart. Not for me, but for him. Susan squeezed my hand. Wait, maybe this is his chance to learn. Maybe. By November, we'd promoted Kate Brennan to co. She was ready. Employees respected her. By December, our internal culture survey showed 87% of employees agreed leadership upholds company values. Up from 78% in June, Preston applied to 43 jobs between October and January, received 2 interviews. Both rejected him after reference checks flagged culture fit concerns. He moved back to Boston in early January, lived with his parents. Theodore still hadn't reinstated the trust fund. Claire went to therapy. Started dating again in late January, casually. No pressure. She spent Christmas with Susan and me. First holiday in 2 years without Preston. On Christmas Eve, she told me, I almost married someone who thought love meant fixing me. I'm grateful I found out before it was too late. I hugged her, didn't say anything. Sometimes the best response is just being there. 3 months later, January 2025, people ask me if I feel bad about what happened to Preston. The truth, I feel bad that it had to happen at all. I didn't fire Preston because I was angry. I fired him because staying silent would have sent a message to 1,150 employees that our values are negotiable, and they're not. Here's what I've learned in 61 years. First, respect isn't about what you wear or how much you earn. It's about how you treat people. When you think no one important is watching. Preston treated me poorly because he thought I didn't matter. He didn't know I was the chairman, but that's exactly the point. If you only respect people after learning their title, you don't actually respect anyone. You're just calculating who's useful to you. Second, silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. I didn't yell at Preston. I didn't argue. I smiled, left the party, and let him think he'd won because I knew something he didn't. I didn't need to defend myself in that moment. I just needed to document what happened and let consequences do the talking. Third, humility is a choice, not a circumstance. I wear a $150 vest, not because I can't afford better. I wear it because it keeps me grounded. My dad taught me that the moment you start believing you're better than other people, you've lost the plot. Preston believed his 2,050 suit made him superior. It didn't. It just made him visible. Fourth, the people you disrespect on the way up are the ones who decide your way down. Preston insulted me in front of my CFO, my general counsel, my CEO, and a dozen others. He thought I was powerless. But power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the person sitting quietly at table 4 wearing a thrift store vest making mental notes. Fifth, boundaries are love. I didn't fire Preston to punish him. I fired him to protect my daughter, my employees, and the culture we've built over 26 years. Letting him stay would have communicated that disrespect is tolerable. It's not. And here's the hardest truth. I hope Preston learns from this. I hope he becomes the kind of man who treats everyone with dignity, regardless of whether they can do anything for him. Because that's the only way any of us become better. Let me give you the numbers for those keeping track. Timeline. Insult at 7:43 p.m. on October 19th. Termination at 9:20 a.m. on October 21st, 41 hours, 37 minutes. Financial costs to Preston. Lost severance, $111,800 lost future earnings at Apex over 5 years. Approximately $1.6 million engagement ring forfeited. $48,000 witnesses. 6 people heard the insult, including audio recording. LinkedIn post views 520,000 plus. Preston's job applications as of January 43rd sent 0 offers. Ray's net worth unchanged, $890 million give or take. Claire's gained freedom and clarity about what she deserves. My company's culture score up 9% since October. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. This wasn't an easy story to tell, but I wanted to share it because I think a lot of people have been in my position, disrespected, underestimated, wondering if staying quiet makes them weak. It doesn't. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing. Wait, watch. Let people reveal who they are, and then enforce your boundaries without apology. I'm not saying what I did was perfect, but it was necessary, and I'd do it again. If you've ever been judged by your appearance, your background, or your bank account, just know this. The people who matter don't judge you for those things, and the people who judge you for those things don't matter. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been underestimated? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. I read every single one. Thanks for being here. And remember, quiet power is still.